Hello, all my dear student friends. Welcome to this session. Right now, we are going to discuss the effect of subcooling and superheating in vapor compression cycle. So, let us study what is the effect of superheating and subcooling in vapor compression cycle. So, first of all, we should know what is superheating and subcooling. But again, before that, we should know what is the simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle. We have already studied the vapor compression refrigeration cycle. But what do you mean by the simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle? That we must know first. So as we have seen that in the vapor compression cycle, first uh, process is compression process. AB is compression process. So this AB is shown in this pH diagram as well as in the TS diagram. AB line is shown in the pH and the TS diagram. So here you can see the point A. Point A is lying on the saturation curve, or the point A is lying on the saturated vapor line. So here in the TS diagram also, the point A is lying on the saturated vapor line, and in the pH diagram also, point A is seen to be lying on the saturated vapor line. It means the refrigerant which is entering the compressor is dry and saturated. The condition of the refrigerant which is entering the compressor is dry and saturated. Again, after the first process of isentropic compression, AB is the first process of isentropic compression. Second process is condensation, BC. So here B dash is there. So B dash C or BC is the process of condensation. So the vapor refrigerant is condensed during the process BC. During the second process, the refrigerant vapor is condensed, and at the end of condensation, we see that the liquid which is obtained at the end of condensation is saturated liquid at point C, because point C is lying on the saturated liquid line. Here you can see on the pH diagram also, and here you can see on the TS diagram also, that point C is lying on the saturated liquid line. So in simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle, point A is lying on the saturated vapor line and point C is lying on the saturated liquid line. So if these two conditions are satisfied, then the cycle is called as the simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Or we can say that the refrigeration cycle, the vapor compression refrigeration cycle, is simple saturated if the refrigerant entering the compressor is dry and saturated, and if the liquid refrigerant leaving the condenser is saturated liquid, that is seen at the point C and at the point A. So in other words, if point A and point C lie on the saturation curve, then we say the vapor compression refrigeration cycle is simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Now in case of superheating and subcooling, there is a slight deviation from the simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle. So what is that deviation? That let us see. So let us see what is the uh, superheating and what is subcooling. So again, simple saturated cycle is shown here. First of all, you can see that the point A and point C, they are lying on the saturated saturation line, saturation curve. Here also you can see point A lying on the saturated vapor line and point C lying on the saturated liquid line. Okay, so first of all, this is the pH diagram and this is the TS diagram of the simple saturated vapor compression refrigeration cycle. Okay, and now let us see what is the superheating as compared to this cycle. What is superheating cycle? So what change is there in the superheating cycle? So in case of superheating, what is done is that the temperature of the refrigerant which is leaving the evaporator before entering the compressor is increased. So here you can see on the TS diagram, instead of the temperature equal to TA dash, the temperature will be TA. So the refrigerant which is entering at the compressor, in the compressor, instead of entering at point A dash, it will enter at point A. So shown by the yellow color is the condition, is the compression when the cycle is simple saturation. But in case of superheating, you will find that this condition of the refrigerant entering the compressor is slightly changed from A dash to A. So the condition of the refrigerant vapor which is entering the compressor will not be saturated, but it will be superheated. So according to superheating cycle, so if you go for superheating the suction vapor, it means that the refrigerant vapor which is entering the compressor is superheated. That is at point A. So here you can see, also see in the pH diagram is that instead of A dash, the refrigerant which is entering the compressor is at point A. So that is in the superheated region. Point A is in the superheated region. So instead of the compression process being A dash A B double dash, the compression process is AB. So the condition of the refrigerant after compression will be at B instead of B double dash, right? So it will be further more superheated at the end of compression, because before compression itself it is superheated, right? And then the further processes of condensation and expansion, and in the refrigerant, in the evaporator, the refrigerant evaporates, so the process of evaporation, all these processes takes place. So this is nothing but superheating the refrigerant, superheating the suction vapor inside the evaporator, or it may take place outside the evaporator also. But this superheating is done before entering the compressor, right? So this is nothing but superheating. So thus superheating is nothing but increasing the temperature of the refrigerant vapor more than saturation temperature inside or outside the evaporator before entering the compressor is called as superheating the suction vapor. So what is superheating the suction vapor? Increasing the temperature of the refrigerant vapor, here it is increased, more than saturation temperature. So at A dash the temperature is equal to saturation temperature. At A the temperature is more than saturation temperature, so that is superheated temperature. And that can be done inside or outside evaporator, and it is done before the refrigerant enters the compressor. So AB is compression process. So that is done, this superheating is done before the entry of the refrigerant to the compressor, right? So this superheating may be done inside or outside the evaporator. So when superheating is done inside the evaporator, that is useful superheating, because that will increase the refrigerating effect. But sometimes the superheating takes place outside the evaporator in the suction line. If the suction line is not properly insulated, then the refrigerant may absorb the heat from the environment, and thus this may lead to superheating. But that superheating is the useless superheating, because that will not increase the refrigerating effect, right? So this is what called as superheating. And superheating may be useful and useless superheating, as we have seen that if superheating is done inside the evaporator, that is useful superheating. If superheating is done outside evaporator, then it is the useless superheating, right? Now, what are the effects of superheating the suction vapor that we have to see? So this is the pH diagram and this is the TS diagram. So this 1, 2, 3, 4 indicate the cycle without superheating, that is simple saturated cycle. But this 1 dash 2 3 4 1 dash, here 1 dash is there, right? So here that is nothing but the superheated cycle, right? So what is the effect of superheating on the work of compression? You can see here on this diagram that the work of compression is increased. The work of compression is increased due to superheating. So this area represent the increase in the work of compression due to superheating. Without superheating, the process is this one. The compression is this 1 2. But with superheating, the compression process is 1 2 dash, right? So this is the increase in the work of compression. The work of compression increases due to superheating. Here we can see that this is the increase in the work of compression. At the same time, there is increase in the specific refrigerating effect due to superheating. So again, this area represent the increase in the specific refrigerating effect due to superheating. So thus it is clear that the specific refrigerating effect is increased by superheating. At the same time, the specific work of compression is also increased by superheating. So here also this area represent the increase in the specific work of compression due to superheating. So this is the refrigerating effect. This area indicates the refrigerating effect without superheating. And when superheating is done, the area is increased. That means this area will now represent the uh, refrigerating effect when superheating is done. So clearly you can see that the area is increased. Previously this is the area, after superheating this is the increased area due to superheating. So thus we can see that the area is increased due to superheating. That means the refrigerating effect is increased due to superheating. So superheating the suction vapor ensures complete vaporization of the suction vapor. Let us study the effect of superheating on suction vapor point wise. Okay. So what is the effect of superheating on the suction vapor that we have to see? So the first point is that superheating the suction vapor ensures complete vaporization of the suction vapor in the evaporator to prevent liquid droplets from entering the compressor and damage it. So the main purpose of superheating is not to increase the COP or increase the refrigerating effect, or that is not the main purpose of superheating. The main purpose of superheating is to increase the life of the compressor, because superheating ensures the complete vaporization of the suction vapor in the evaporator or outside the evaporator to prevent liquid droplets from entering the compressor and damage it. So we don't want to allow the liquid droplets of the refrigerant to enter inside the compressor along with the vapor, because these liquid droplets may damage the compressor, because these liquid droplets of the refrigerant will carry the lubricating oil from the compressor outside the compressor, and thus there will be increased wear and tear and increased friction in the compressor, and that will decrease the life of the compressor, that will damage the compressor. So the liquid droplets damage the compressor, and therefore we must avoid the liquid droplets to enter inside the compressor, and for that we have to ensure that the complete vaporization of the suction vapor takes place before this vapor enters the compressor. And that is the main purpose or the main advantage of superheating the suction vapor. Now the degree of superheat also serves as a means of modulating the capacity of the expansion valve. So the capacity of the expansion valve is also improved due to superheating. Both specific refrigerating effect and work of compression increases due to superheating. So due to superheating, specific refrigerating effect also increases and work of compression also increases. Hence, COP may increase or decrease depending upon the type of refrigerant used. So it depends upon which refrigerant we are using, and depending upon the refrigerant which we are using, the COP may increase or decrease. That depends upon the percentage increase in the refrigerating effect and the percentage increase in the work of compression, because both are increasing, and COP is the ratio of the specific refrigerating effect to the work of compression. So the specific volume of the suction vapor also increases due to superheating, and that will increase the piston displacement and consequent size of the compressor. So the size of the compressor required is also increased due to superheating. So we must go for superheating, but slight superheating is recommended. If we increase the superheating, then the size of the compressor is also increased. So just for ensuring that the liquid refrigerant is not entering the compressor so as to increase the life of the compressor, we are going for superheating, and there is no other purpose to go for superheating the suction vapor, because the size of compressor is also increased due to superheating. Now again, let us study the subcooling or undercooling. So first of all, we have to again see the simple saturation vapor compression refrigeration cycle, or simple vapor compression refrigeration cycle. So according to this simple saturation vapor compression refrigeration cycle, here we can see that point A is lying on the saturated vapor line and point C is lying on the saturated liquid line. Okay. Now, as per subcooling or undercooling, you will find that this point C is not lying on the saturated liquid line, but it is lying in the subcooled region. This point C is lying in the subcooled region. You can see in the pH diagram. Okay. So that means this C dash D dash is not the process of expansion. C dash D dash is not the process of expansion, but CD is the process of expansion if we go for subcooling, because we are coming up to point C, and therefore we can't expand from C dash to D dash. The expansion process will be CD, not C dash D dash, right? So what is subcooling? Cooling the liquid refrigerant in the condenser below the condensing temperature and below the temperature of the saturated liquid is known as subcooling the condensed liquid. So this cooling is done below the saturation temperature of the liquid, and this may be done by adding extra area for heat transfer. So if the area in the uh, condenser is used effectively, or if the area in the condenser, area of heat transfer in the condenser is increased, then what will happen is that the subcooling may take place, or the cooling will be more in the condenser, and this may also lead to subcooling. So in such case, the exit condition of the condenser will be in the subcooled liquid region. So the refrigerant which is leaving the condenser will be in the subcooled region, not on the saturated liquid line. So again, this is the diagram for the cycle when subcooling is done. Vapor compression refrigeration cycle with subcooling. This is the TS diagram and this is the pH diagram. So this C dash D dash is not the expansion process with subcooling, but CD is the expansion process with subcooling. So here with subcooling the cycle is like this: A, B, C, D, A. Here also you can see A, B, then B dash, C dash, C, D, A. Okay. So this is the cycle with subcooling. So if you go for subcooling, the cycle will change like this. This point C will not lie here on the saturated liquid line, but this it is lying on the saturated subcooled line, subcooled liquid region. That means we are cooling the refrigerant liquid beyond the saturation point here in the condenser. That is nothing but subcooling. So here you can see that the cooling is done beyond this point and we are coming here. So what are the effects of subcooling the condensed liquid that we have to see? Now this subcooling is beneficial as it increases the refrigerating effect and consequently COP. The refrigerating effect is increased. We have seen how it is increased, and consequently the COP is also increased due to subcooling. Subcooling ensures that only liquid enters into the throttling device, leading to its efficient operation. So when only liquid is entering in the throttling device, in the expansion device, the expansion device will work efficiently. And due to subcooling, it is ensured that only liquid is entering inside the throttling device, and that will lead to the efficient operation of the throttling device. Subcooling reduces the percentage of vapor at the inlet to the evaporator. The percentage of the vapor which is entering the evaporator will be reduced and the percentage of liquid will be increased, and that will lead to lower pressure drop in the evaporator. The pressure drop in the evaporator takes place because vapor is entering inside the evaporator and this vapor gets condensed. Actually, this vapor is entering inside the evaporator, and due to that, there is a pressure drop in the evaporator, and that will be reduced due to subcooling because more liquid is entering inside the evaporator if you go for subcooling. Subcooling also reduces the percentage of vapor required to be handled by the compressor, and thus the size of the compressor is reduced. So the vapor which is required to be handled by the compressor, the quantity of vapor which is required to be handled by the compressor will be reduced. Instead of saying percentage, we must say the quantity of vapor required to be handled by the compressor is reduced, and thus the size of compressor is reduced if you go for subcooling. And overall, power required per ton of refrigeration is also reduced by subcooling. So thus we can see that subcooling is advantageous. But though subcooling is advantageous, it is difficult to go for subcooling because we are using whatever cooling medium we are using, that is fixed. It is having a particular temperature. We cannot reduce the temperature of the cooling medium. Only thing is that if we use this cooling medium effectively in the condenser, then that may lead to subcooling or better cooling in the evaporator. So if the cooling is done in a proper way, in a better way in the condenser, then automatically the COP of the system will be improved. So we can see this superheating and subcooling at a glance. So this upper TS and pH diagram indicate superheating and this lower diagram indicate subcooling. So in this diagram you can see superheating and subcooling at a glance, right? So this was about superheating and subcooling. Thank you, my dear friends.